Okay, folks, well, hopefully you can see the presentation in front of you on Global Meet, and as additional guests join, then they can pick up where we are. So without further ado, let's proceed. As a brief point on OLAP, it's a powerful web-based analysis tool that can help you gain insight into your business data and make intelligent decisions that impact corporate performance. So just an overview again of the European BI team led by Jeff, and on the functional side you've myself and Killian, and on the technical side then with Mark and Dominic.
All guests have been unmuted. All guests have been muted.
Okay, so let's try pick up again from our session outline. So the intro to analysis for OLAP today will cover opening an analysis workspace, creating a new analysis workspace, adding data to the cross tab, and then subsequently removing the data. We can also filter by type, by member, remove the filter, and filter by measure. Additionally, we can sort your data, add calculations, conditional formatting, and finally to save the workspace. Hopefully we'll get through it in time and we can allow a short recap and Q&A. So some initial advice would be, if you want to save your work, you can only save in the My Favorites folder within your documents, and you can also create subfolders in here too. You can make changes to file save in a public business folder, but you won't be able to overwrite the original template layout here. You must save it in your My Documents folder. And before creating a new report, make sure you know which query to use, either by the BI report name or the BI technical name. And you can see a list of these in our BI report catalog. The tool is correctly called Analysis Edition for OLAP, but most people will call it either Analysis or OLAP. OLAP equals Online Analytical Processing. And to show you where it's situated within the BusinessObjects portal, we have the three tools, Webby, Analysis for OLAP, and Lumira. So today we will focus on OLAP. And this is where I can diverge from the presentation. I will now focus on using the Object platform, and we can use the presentation as a reference back to after the session. So here we have the Object portal. So I have the Transport KPI report, and we can see that the type is Analysis Workspace. This shows us that it is the OLAP report. So in order to open the report, I can double click on it, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, because we need a little bit of patience when working with BI tools. So now we have our required prompts and we have optional prompts. So we can see that we need to enter in the company code. So now that I have it entered, go down to the fiscal periods, we can see that on the left-hand side, all the mandatory prompts are entered. Additional prompts for this report include both sold to and vendor. But for the purposes of today, I won't enter in any. Additionally, just check the Save Prompt Values with Workspace checkbox, so that when we do save a report, we won't need to enter in company code again. Once we're happy with that, we can hit OK, and the report will run and process for us. And we can see then our data in the report. So the layout of the Object platform can be split into 5 different sections. So in here, with these icons, we have the toolbar, and this contains actions, commands for working with Analysis Workspace documents, e.g. save, send, or export. In the tab section, contains additional controls for manipulating the data in the document, e.g. analyze, insert, and display. And then in the task panel to our left, we have the data, the properties, and the outline panels. In between, we have the layout panel. This contains the definition of the selection analysis. You can drag fields such as characteristics like material or key figures like number of pallets. And then you can view these in columns, rows, or backgrounds. You can also perform navigational operations on the characteristics and key figures in the layout panel, including filtering, reordering, and swapping objects. Finally, to the right, we have the analysis window. This displays any changes made in the layout panel or actions taken on the toolbar or tabs. And within this analysis window, we have the cross-tab itself, which is the actual table. You can increase the size of the analysis window by hiding both the data panel and the layout panel. So if I click the X on the layout panel, it disappears. And if I click the cube on the data panel, it also disappears, thereby widening your view. In order to take them back, simply click on the cube panel again, and then up here, this icon shows the layout panel. So as mentioned, in our layout panel here, we have a look at the columns, the rows, and the background. So the background filter allows you to filter the report without showing the filtered values in the report, which means they're working behind the scenes. Just referring back to slide 10 here in the presentation, it gives us an example of a workspace layout with a couple of different OLAPs, but then also a couple of charts. Now this is for the session next week, and if you tune in, my colleague Killian will take you through how to create a display like this. So now, moving on to creating a new analysis workspace. In the BI Launchpad, we can choose the Analysis Edition for OLAP option here in the Applications. This will create a new tab within the BI Launchpad. So you can choose a data source relevant to your task. So you can find. So if I search by report name, so I'm going to put in for this example, profitability. And we can see the number of searches that it returns for us. So as we can see, there's quite a good few. However, if I was to put in the BI technical name, SAMPAL 100, GBQ, GTN, and hopefully everyone can still see the screen, and hit return, and it gives us the exact one result. And you just see in the chat, if anyone else can't see the screen, if they can enter into the chat in the bottom left-hand side. If not, I continue. Here again, we can see required prompts and optional prompts. So I'm going to, again, type in the company code that I want to see. I could always check the box here to display the company code that I have access to. And in the optional, we can see that there's a whole lot more optional prompts given here. Again, I'm going to hit OK, let it process, count to 3, aim the do a 3, and hopefully it will appear. Obviously, depending on the greater amount of information you're looking for, the longer it might take to be able to run. So here, the default view of this report shows us our key figures, and the key figures are in our rows. So in order to add data to the cross tab, we can drag and drop from the field. So initially, I'm going to put a filter on net sales. So I'll double click on key figures. Everything is selected, so I can unselect and just select net sales. It's up to yourself, but generally when I filter on key figures, I generally then take it up into columns and drag and drop additional characteristics into the rows. Now we've got the net sales. I'm going to minimize the key figures on the left-hand side, and these are displayed, the characteristics are displayed in alphabetical order. So if I wanted to, for instance, drag in fiscal week, I would need to scroll down on the left-hand side to S and find fiscal week, and drag and drop it into our columns to display going across. And then I want to take in product hierarchy. So again, scrolling down to our P, take product hierarchy, and I can drag it and drop it into rows, or additionally, I can put it actually into the analysis cross tab itself. Then I'm going to take product hierarchy 2. And finally, the last of the product hierarchies, number 3. Now, if I was to hover over product hierarchy 2, it should display in a kind of blue, which means it's going to replace it, so you can swap it out. Or it should show a black line as to where it's going to appear. So that is how we would add data to the cross tab. If we wanted to remove data from the cross tab, in this instance, product hierarchy 2, again, it's a case of dragging and dropping it back into the characteristics. So next we can look at potentially filtering. So once I've highlighted the analysis window, we can see that up in the Analyze section, our filters appear. Up here, we can filter by member, we can filter by measure. You can also filter member, filter measure. We could also do it in the rows. So if I right-click once, count to our tree, 1, 2, 3, and hopefully it will appear. And here we can filter by member, filter by measure. And the last additional way of filtering is, again, just double clicking on it. And we can see there that it's displayed. So now we can first deselect all items and then select the relevant one. You can also do a range selection. You can do a search, and you can include an asterisk in case you wanted to search for particular materials, such as in Ireland we like our chicken fillets or baguettes, and there's multiple materials for these. Or you can also search by key or text. In this instance, we can only see the key of the product hierarchy. And at the bottom, you can save this filter, and it will appear in your report underneath the product hierarchy. Once you're happy, this one I'm not going to save, and I'm going to hit OK. So now we filtered on product hierarchy 1 red. In order to see the key of this product hierarchy, I can right-click once on product hierarchy, count to 3 times by, and it appears. And what I can do is go down to display as. And in display as, I can display as key and text. Hopefully everyone can still see my screen. I know there are a couple of colleagues with me here who can't. So again, if people can't see the screen, if you could put it in the chat, then we can look to share my screen again if it's affecting multiple users. So now we want to remove the filter we just put on. Again, double click on product hierarchy 1, and we can simply select all again, and the filter is gone. But for the purposes of this illustration, I'm going to keep the filter on best. Now, if we want to filter by measure, so if we want to filter by net sales, I'm going to highlight our product hierarchy 3, come up to filters, hopefully filter by measure is there, it is. And what I'm going to do is, it's based on net sales, and what I'm going to do is anything greater than, and let's go for 1 million. Okay, it's taken out some that we can see we've got fiscal weeks 1 to 40 in this, so it's taken out anything that is under 1 million in weeks 1 to 40 accumulated. Okay, in order to delete that filter, we can come back up, filter by measure, and we can edit or we can delete. Next, we can sort data. So if I want to sort data in fiscal week 1, we can see now that I've highlighted fiscal week 1, the sort icon is there, and let's sort by descending. And now we've got specialty loaves right down to bills at the bottom. In order to take off the filter, we come back up to the drop-down icon under Sort and remove Sort. Now we can look to add calculations. So in order to add calculations, I'm going to do some manipulation here first. So I'm going to take out our fiscal week. And in order to do our simple calculations, we need 2 key figures. So currently we can only see net sales. So let me add in an additional key figure. And for this, I'll choose quantity in cases. Okay, now we have net sales and quantity in cases highlighted. And we can also see now that we have our calculations. So I can choose add, subtract, multiply, or divide. In this instance, I'll choose divide. And we can see that the calculation is worked there now. In order to edit or delete the calculation, again, we choose the drop-down arrow. We can see under Custom Calc that we have both net sales and quantity in cases. So we can edit it here, or we can delete. So if we go to Custom Calc, so we can set a name for the Custom Calc, we can base it on our key figures, and we can also place it. So we can place it before or after net sales, before or after quantity and cases. So let's choose a function. There's multiple different functions here. So I'm going to come down to some mathematical ones and look for a trunk at the bottom. Here we go. So in order to get a key figure in here, I need to highlight the operandi 1, click to add member, and choose net sales. Next, I'm going to manually enter the division sign, and hopefully by adding another member, I can select the quantity in cases. Again, I can manually enter the symbol and the ratio, and then down at the bottom left, we can validate the formula that I've entered. Within the status, it gives us the expression is valid, so we can hit OK. And there we can see our custom calc has appeared within the report. Again, on the calculations, we can see now that our custom calc has appeared, and we can edit or delete. Now, if we want to look at dynamic calculations, we can see that our calculations are grayed out, and now we've selected all, and the calculations appear. So there is a number of different dynamic calculations that are already set in BusinessObjects that we can use, from moving minimum value, moving max value, cumulative sum. And there's also a ranking down further. So for the purposes of today, let's use a cumulative sum, and it should hopefully sum the quantity in cases and gives us the total of 9160. In order to ensure accuracy, let's just turn on the totals for product hierarchy 1 by right-clicking once, totals, show totals, and we can see that quantity in cases total equals our cumulative sum. We can also see this dynamic calculation in the header here. And here, if I right-click once, we can also edit calculation and delete calc. Now, besides calculations, there are conditional formatting. So say we want to add in a conditional format. Okay, let me highlight the entire row for quantity and cases first. Let me hit select new. And again, we can rename a conditional format here if we want, or we can just continue with the selected name given. We can base it on key figures within our report. And the format is, we can highlight the cell background, we can highlight the value, or we can highlight the symbol. So I'm going to stick with cell background. There are 9 different colors that can be used, so I'll continue with the one that's the default. And what I'm going to do is highlight something between. So let's say 100,000 cases and 550. And we can select the preview option in the bottom left to show that the conditional format is in action. Now before I hit OK, I'm going to add an additional one. Let's choose a color further down the list. Let's go for greater than. And let's select 2 million. Now we can see it's previewed. I'm going to hit OK. And again, count to 3, raz, ra, dry. And there we go. We can see the conditional format has taken effect. Now we can save a workspace. When we come back up to the drop-down arrow on the conditional formatting, we can see that the one now is there selected, and we can edit or delete. So again, we can remove one and just leaving the higher valued items in there. And again, let's take it out, edit, delete, and we're back. So let's save, excuse me, let's save a workspace. Because we've opened this from the applications drop-down, we could actually just hit the save icon, but generally I'll hit use save as. Save as will default to our favorites, and within our favorites we can see I have a number of folders created here. So let's choose this one and call it product hierarchies for short. Now, if I was to try and hit the save icon from a template report within any of these public folders here, we would get an error message saying you do not have permission to save to the folder. Contact your administrator. This is because you must choose the save as option. So let's look to go through a summary of the icons within our different tabs. So within, referring back to our toolbar here, we can see that there's an icon for create new workspace. If we select the drop-down, we can also open an existing one. We have our save file, save as. We have our SAP Business Objects inbox, our email, and we can also export to Excel, CSV, PDF, or we can print to PDF. And we can ignore the last one here, which is the create analysis application. Below this is undo, redo, just like Excel. We can discard all changes, which reverts to your last saved version. We can copy the selected crosstab or chart, and once that option is selected, then the paste icon will be available. We can delete the selected crosstab or chart, and as shown earlier, we can show or hide the layout panel. On the left-hand side here, we have our cube, which can show or hide the data panel. Below this, we have this properties of the selected analysis. And below this again, we have the outline, the report outline, similar to a list of contents. Again, it is possible to have more than one data source in your workspace. So you can connect to an additional data source, and then you can remove the selected data source. And the prompt will bring us back to where we entered the prompt initially. So you can add in an additional company code, an additional fiscal period, etc. if you need to. At the bottom of the workspace, just like Excel, we can see a few different tabs. So we can create several sheets, rename them, reorder them, swap them, etc. So now, if I refer back to our presentation, and give a quick recap, hopefully I will have covered off each of the following. So opening the analysis workspace, creating the new analysis workspace, adding data to the cross tab, removing data, filtering the cross tab by filter types, by member, removing the filter, and filtering by measure. We also sorted our data, added calculations, both simple, custom, and dynamic. And then we added in some conditional formatting. Finally, we saved the workspace. So hopefully that has been able to give you a good overview for an intro to analysis for OLAP. We can now open the floor to questions via the chat option in Global Meet. So again, hopefully there's one or two questions to come in, and in the meantime, I can show you that there's more analysis for OLAP Level 2 next Thursday at the same time. I think we have one come through from Zaharia about conditional formatting. So will it appear in Excel or PDF? I'm pretty sure that as we export, that it will appear as seen within BusinessObjects. So there we can see via PDF, the conditional formatting remains. And just to be sure, in Excel, it's the same. So it would be very handy if you're tracking variances and variances percentages. So there we can see available in both Excel and PDF. And as mentioned, we have the webinar recorded. We can send up a follow-up with the recording and the presentation. to use as a reference point. Again, should there be any questions after the session, the team are always available through the ServiceNow link in raising tickets. Thanks a million for joining today, and hopefully catch you all soon.